today's episode is going to be a little more heartfelt, a little more deeper than just the surface stuff. We're going to talk about me, some of the struggles I've gone through, some of the stuff I've dealt with, and how I have found to cope with a lot of those things and deal with a lot of that stuff. Writing is my outlet. And I feel for a lot of people this is something that happens more often than none. And a lot of people don't like to admit that. And it's even hard for me to admit these things. And I figured if I can go through all this and come out on top, then hopefully, somebody maybe hearing these things can relate to these things and can maybe better themselves from it. Because I know I've struggled very, very hard over the last 3.5 years. It's not been a very easy, kosher adventure for me. And I don't know. I'd rather express what I've gone through, talk about the things I've dealt with, and hopefully help somebody else, because I don't know. So for me, my depression's always been since I was young. I never knew what it was, never understood it, and never understood how to handle it or cope with it. It wasn't until after I was the age of 21, 22 years old, out of the military, out of some rough things in life, and got back into riding and exploring dirt bikes, that I found that getting out there, whether it was by myself for a quick ride or even a long ride, just that clarity of just being away from all of my troubles, all of my day-to-day issues, helped me immensely. And I'm not sitting here saying to use motocross or riding or dirt bikes as an escape, but what I am saying is that maybe for those of you that don't understand, or maybe those of you that have never been in this position, you can maybe hear it from someone else's side and hopefully kind of build off of it and make things better. This is a very raw and vulnerable session for me, and I hope you guys can respect that and understand that, and just know that me doing this is trying to show you guys that I'm true, I'm honest, I'm very open when it comes to this podcast and wanting it to go further. I'm not even going to advertise anything tonight. I'm not going to express where we're played. I'm not going to push for that, because the reality is if you're listening to this, you already know where I'm at. You know where to find me. You know how to tell friends, and so forth. But back to what I was saying was that, this has been a struggle for me, and I'm hoping that my camera continues recording. I might have to cut it for a little bit, but we'll see. So I found that motocross, racing, riding was my biggest key to my happiness and getting away from a lot of those struggles. But as time has gone on, and I went down a darker path and ended up in a place I didn't want to be in life shortly after my divorce. But that's all hearsay. What I'm trying to get at is dirt bikes in general, and outdoors, and the camaraderie and the friendships and the relationships that I've created through dirt bikes, riding, friends, family. They've gotten me through those things. And I hope that, if maybe you're struggling, going through times, I know the holidays have been through, and a lot of us, that's hard. I know it's extremely hard, especially for single parents, single dads, single moms, even the youth. And I'm hoping that by expressing this, I could maybe show you guys that there's hope. There's an answer out there. It might not always be in front of you, but it's there. And it's through, for me, it's through, I do online counseling, it's helped, and riding, and just being outdoors, and watching my kid ride, and experiencing those moments, and just being a part of everything. That's huge. And being more apparent as to what's going on. So I know that it's never easy to express things, never easy to talk about things, but please, I always say it at the end of every podcast and every YouTube channel episode is please, please reach out. And that hits home to me. And that's huge for me. And I want that to be known, that no matter what the case is, whatever you're going through, please don't be afraid to reach out. If you don't have an outlet or you don't have a person that you can trust enough to possibly talk to about these things, I know I'm no professional. I know I'm not a trained therapist or anything, but I'm always willing to load the bike up, grab some snacks and some waters, and meet you out on a trail and get your mind off of things for a little bit and get you out there to experience something new and hopefully make that a new adventure for you. And that's where I'm really ultimately going with this podcast. It's called Life and Moto. And I figured we've discussed a lot of the moto stuff. We've done that. We've gone down that path. Let's rewind it a little bit and bring it back to life, because I think a lot of us forget that that's what makes up motocross and riding. And, you know, even if it's riding in your backyard, I say all the time, just those things alone can be huge. And I hope that that didn't just happen. Looks like it may have stopped, but we're going to cut this and I will be right back because camera's dying, phone calls are ringing in. Got it. Okay, sorry about that. So what we're going to do is I'll stitch that all together and make it not so obvious. But I want it to be known that if anybody needs anything, if anybody's going through some things, don't be afraid. Reach out. Talk to me. I feel like the masculinity that comes with riding, dirt bikes, motocross, and everything in general has made it to where it's hard to talk, especially for us guys. Us guys, we're very to ourselves creatures. We don't share our emotions. We don't like to be soft, but I would rather somebody direct DM me and say, hey, this is what's going on. Do you mind just going riding with me? We don't even have to talk about what's going on, because I know for me and maybe for you and everybody else that's listening, just getting out and experiencing the outdoors, riding, having somebody with you, that companionship is huge. And that's what Life and Moto is all about. I want to hear all of your guys' stories. I want to share your stories. I want to make this an amazing journey for everybody involved, everybody in the podcast world, to see and understand that there's way more to this than just a bunch of ego-driven men and women that just want to ride. And if I can help bring that awareness to our sport, our gatherings, our society, that's what matters to me, and that's what's going to make this better for everybody. I know that every one of you has a story, every one of you has a reason, and I want to be a part of those stories and expressing them and keeping you up to date with life, keeping you up to date with moto series that are going on, whether that's desert, out at the track, or just riding in general. Like, that's what this podcast is about. I know that there's other resources and other options out there as well, but let's make this even better and more personable and something for everybody. I don't care what's going on. I think I've kind of pushed that really hard, but please just always reach out to me or somebody that you trust and say, hey, let's go ride, or hey, let's get out on the bikes and make it to where this is safer for everybody, because this is home for me, and this hits home for me because it's kind of like near and dear to my heart. And yeah, I've lost friends and everything over this kind of stuff, and I don't want to keep watching people that are too scared to reach out for help and keep losing great people in this world. And I feel like if I could be that one maybe stepping stone to helping you, sweet, bring it on. I am willing to ride my butt off to help you and anybody else that needs help. So this is a very intimate, very close, and I know that like our podcast group right now isn't the biggest. I know my following is not the biggest, and I know that many of you that follow could possibly relate or know somebody that could relate to this. And I just really want this to hit home with everybody, that this podcast is real, this podcast is raw, it's got a lot of potential behind it, and I am truly pushing for this because I want to be an avenue of community, riding, up-to-date news, and just friendship. I'm out to just make the riding community more friendly. More of us are, I want to get to where we're entangled. We look out for each other, we help each other out, and that's my ultimate goal with everything. So please just share this podcast to those of you that might need it, might want it, and that's the biggest thing. I'm not going to make this a real long podcast episode today because it is a little more heartfelt. It is a little more in the sense of like raw and vulnerable. So please just know that there's somebody out there always listening and willing to listen. Include me in one of those, and don't be afraid to reach out, and I'll go riding with you. I'm a little more available during the weekends and whatnot, but if it's a midweek, midday after work, or whatever the case may be for you or me, let me know, and I will make the accommodations to be a part of it and be there for everybody. And with that, I'm just going to close this. I know it's not a very long episode, and I'm just going to say I care about everybody that's involved with the podcast, of the following, the social media following, and that's what I truly hope to gain from this, is just more of that community bond and that friendship between everybody. And I won't dive into too much more of that, and I just will say this: always keep 2 wheels down and never let anything bring you down, and ever be afraid to reach out to someone and get some help, or talk to me or anybody else in this world. And I hope this wasn't too pushy of a podcast episode. I felt it was something that was on my heart, and I felt like it was something I needed to talk about and share and let everybody know that I'm there for you.